reflection of your good taste in good music. This is CFMC, Stereophonic Radio. Here is a summary of the late news. Prime Minister Trudeau meets his cabinet tomorrow, the first cabinet meeting since Tuesday's general election that saw the Liberals return to power with a parliamentary majority. Mr. Trudeau is spending today at his official summer residence at Harrington Lake, 20 miles north of Ottawa, but he'll return to the capital tomorrow for a cabinet meeting and a farewell visit from the retiring British High Commissioner Sir Henry Lintott. A spokesman says Mr. Trudeau will be occupied this weekend with cabinet changes. These are expected to be announced late next week. The Prime Minister's next public appearance is expected to be on Dominion Day during ceremonies in Parliament Hill. Montreal police say they will crack down on what Police Director Jean-Paul Gilbert calls terrorist types, particularly motorcycle gangs and wild hippies. Gilbert says every provision of the criminal code and city bylaws will be strictly enforced so that they won't be allowed to disturb the rights of citizens. He says special squads have been formed to deal with terror and violence. The police director says that the separatists, when not involved in demonstrations, are less of a problem than those uncouth motorcycle gangs and those dirty pot-smoking hippies. In Winnipeg, meanwhile, a study released today says rebellion among young students is natural and healthy and nothing to be concerned about. The study was done by the Winnipeg Teachers Association and the Winnipeg School Board. It says student unrest is a part of the coming-of-age process, and it describes it's creative and a constructive force. But the study also shows that a minority of the school population has an increased juvenile crime rate, and this gives cause for worry. 3 children have been killed in an explosion and a fire in a tent near Saint-Hilaire, Quebec, 30 miles west of Montreal. Their mother and another child were taken to hospital. The cause of the explosion is not known. The family had been camping. The tent contained an oil heater, but this was put out at night. Turning to sports, junior players developed in the newly formed Canadian Hockey Association will eventually move into professional ranks, regardless of statements by National Hockey League President Clarence Campbell. That's the opinion of the association president Ron Butlin of Calgary. Butlin said that professional teams will need young players, and he said that these players will be eagerly accepted by pros, contrary to recent remarks made by Campbell. Mr. Butlin added, and we quote him, "No law has ever been passed in Canada that all teams and leagues must play under the Canadian Amateur Hockey Association, although I'm sure the NHL would love to see one." Recapping baseball in the National League, Los Angeles edged by San Francisco after 11 innings by a score of 6-5. It was Atlanta over Philadelphia 4-3, and New York downing Houston 3-1. In the American League, only 2 games, one game called after 5 innings due to rain, saw Minnesota leading Baltimore by a score of 2-0. It was Boston 9 and Cleveland 3. The weather for Saskatoon, a few clouds tonight and Friday, widely scattered thunder showers overnight, and again late tomorrow afternoon and evening. It'll be cooler. Winds will be northwesterly 15, occasional gusts tonight to 30 during the day tomorrow. Low and high for Saskatoon and Yorkton, 50 and 70. The outlook for Saturday, unsettled weather and cool. Currently in downtown Saskatoon, the temperature stands at 70 degrees. That was a late summary of the news, read by Al Kowal. Providing you with your kind of music, 7 days a week. This is Saskatchewan's first FM radio station. This is CFMC, Saskatoon. Good evening and welcome to Festival. Tonight, as our featured work, we'll be listening to Schubert's Octet in F Major, Opus 166, as performed by the Vienna Octet. When Schubert wrote this octet back in 1824, he was discouraged, he was ill, anemic, and nervous. Financially, he wasn't too well off either. He was too poor to pay his rent. And he was then writing to a friend in these terms, and we'll quote him. "Every night when I go to bed, I hope that I will not wake. I live without pleasure. I live without friends." He speaks of his affairs being in a bad way, and he feels that composition is useless, for his operas could not be produced. He mentions news from Vienna of Beethoven's new works, and he adds that he's been trying to write some instrumental things, 2 quartets and an octet. This last was a welcome commission from Count Ferdinand von Troyer, a clarinet-playing high official in the household of that Archbishop and Archduke Rudolph, who had been Beethoven's patron and friend, and to whom Schubert dedicated his Opus 42 piano sonata. The clarinet of Count von Troyer is naturally predominant. Besides him, in the first performance, there were some of the members of the famous Rosmoisky Quartet. Here now is the Vienna Octet with Schubert's Octet in F major, Opus 166. Enjoyable music. Octet in F major, Opus 166, composition by Schubert. And as I mentioned before we played it, when Schubert composed this piece of music, he was rather in a discouraged state of mind. For the time remaining on concert date, we will listen to Claude Montu, flautist, the London Symphony Orchestra, conducted by Pierre Montu. Now, it's a rare chance indeed to combine the talents of 2 such eminent musicians as the almost legendary conductor Pierre Montu and his son Claude. Now, this recording we have has the distinction of bringing father and son together for the first time in performance. Claude Montu has established an international reputation as a solo flautist, and he's played not only in his native America, but also in London, Paris, Vienna, Berlin, and Scandinavian capitals. However, in recent years, he's devoted more time to composing and conducting the Hudson Valley Philharmonic, his own permanent orchestra, as well as many other important American orchestras. Pierre Montu, on the other hand, has, during the last 70 years, conducted a vast amount of classical music, and any performance of his has a stamp of authority which can only come with a lifetime of experience. As young as ever, he was 89 at the time of this recording. Tonight we will hear Mozart's Flute Concerto in D major, Bach's Suite No. 2 in B minor, and Gluck's Orpheus et Eurydice. Here is Claude Montu, flautist, London Symphony Orchestra, conducted by Pierre Montu. Complementing your desire for the better things in life. This is Saskatoon's Good Music Station. This is CFMC, broadcasting in stereo. Wednesday night at the theater. Once again, you're invited to take your seat front row center as CFMC presents an original cast performance of a popular Broadway or Hollywood musical on Wednesday night at the theater. Wednesday Night at the Theater is brought to you by Edelman's, serving Saskatoon and District with better values for over 50 years. Good evening and welcome to another Wednesday Night at the Theater presentation. You know, to me, dates are something that are usually mentioned and soon thereafter forgotten. But the evening of March 31st, 1943 was a momentous occasion in the American musical theater, a date that should be remembered. The musical came of age, providing the world with a unique American art form. Oklahoma's New York premiere was more than that of a hit musical. It was a landmark, sharply dividing the history of musical theater. Before this, as you are well aware, I'm sure, American librettists and lyricists, as well as composers, were groping towards something new. They were aware that the revue and operetta was outmoded, but it was not until Rodgers and Hammerstein made the breakthrough with Oklahoma that they and their fellow craftsmen could see plainly that the goal had been attained. From then on, one great musical play after another graced the Broadway musical stage. For instance, Carousel, Guys and Dolls, South Pacific, and the list goes on and on. Well, Oklahoma opened its tryout run in New Haven's Schubert Theater back in 1943. And it opened under the title, Away We Go. But a few days later, during another short run at the Colonial Theater in Boston, the enthusiasm of the Boston audience for the song Oklahoma caused the title to be changed before the New York opening. And thus we have the name Oklahoma. Well, the show ran for more than 5 years in Broadway before it closed in 1948. Here's the overture to the ever-popular, and in the opinion of many people, the greatest musical of them all, the overture to Oklahoma. The overture to Oklahoma. Well, as our story unfolds, we are in the Oklahoma Territory. It's the years just before Oklahoma becomes a state, and the still raiding cowboy is slowly giving way to fences and plows of the farmer. Our spotlight opens on Curly, a young cowboy who's coming to visit the farm owned by his girl Laurie and her Aunt Eller. As he approaches, he sings, "Oh, what a beautiful morning."
There's a bright golden haze.
Well, Curly wants to take Laurie to the box social that very evening, and he expounds the merits of going in a surrey with the fringe on top.
When I take you out tonight with me,
And that's the finale to a great musical, Oklahoma, by Rodgers and Hammerstein. Of course, we heard the motion picture form, starring Gordon McCrae, Gloria Graham, Gene Nelson, Shirley Jones, James Whitmore, and others. Join us 1 week from tonight on CFMC Radio, when it'll be my pleasure to present for your listening enjoyment Ethel Merman in Call Me Madam. Till then, this is Al Kowal bidding you all a very pleasant good evening. This has been Wednesday Night at the Theater. Join us again next Wednesday for another original cast performance of a popular Broadway or Hollywood musical on Wednesday Night at the Theater. A reminder that Wednesday Night at the Theater has been brought to you by Edelman's, serving Saskatoon and District with better values for over 50 years.
CKRD degrees, and an east-southeast wind at 8 miles an hour right now. On the Al Cowell Show, it's 21 after 5 o'clock, and here comes Bobby Kurtola from Port Arthur. Bobby, and while you're away, baby. Oh, baby, while I'm away. Bobby Kurtola on Audio 85 this afternoon. It's 23 minutes after 5 o'clock. The Al Cowell Show is sort of swinging and a singing here. Yes, sir.
It's a wide, wide world. There's so much to see in the world of TV. Your window to the world. Enjoy the treat of a front row seat. It's a wide, wide world.
Okay, on Channel 6 and 10, CKRD Television this evening, be watching as Danny Gallivan calls a play-by-play with the New York Rangers meeting the Montreal Canadiens in the Montreal Forum on Hockey Night in Canada this evening at 6:30. At 8:45, Outdoorsman brings tips and information on outdoor life. At 9:30, Jethro decides to become a do-it-yourself astronaut on the Beverly Hillbillies. And tonight at 11:15, Ultra presents Hasty Heart, a heartwarming drama starring Ronald Reagan and Patricia Neal. That's you'll be viewing at Channel 6 and 10, CKRD Television. How much you want to bet behind those drums comes Bobby Darin. And
Lots of things have changed around here since you're gone. Lamps don't in this house miss you.
oh, I say, yes, Bobby Darin there on Audio 85 this afternoon. And the things in this house miss you just as much as I do. 26 minutes after 5 o'clock. Steve Ulmer in the news. He puts it all together with the sports and the weather. And he brings it your way at 5:30 this afternoon. So be listening for that. Steve Ulmer at 5:30.
What's going on?
And where?
Now, the latest community news.
Okay, the Blindman Helping Hand Association will hold a bingo on Saturday, March 19th, 8 p.m. in the Asplund Hall. The regular meeting of the Rocky Home and School Association will be held Monday, March 21st, 8 p.m. in the high school library. And the annual United Nations semi-final speaking contest, sponsored by the Rebecca and Oddfellows Lodge, will be held at the IOOF Hall in Ponoka. That's on Saturday, March 19th, to be held at 8 p.m.
If you wish to advertise your club's activities without charge, send the information to Memos, CKRD Red Deer. And for a complete list of all Central Alberta memos, hear Alpha Morning Memos, each weekday morning at 10 before 11.
Don Costa, the orchestra. A bit of la 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 music for you. Steve Ulmer, the news next on Audio 85. Immediately following the news, we'll hear Steve Lawrence sing the Weekend song. CKRD, Audio 85 at Red Deer. Home time will indicate 4:30.